Here is the truth no one dares to say aloud. Wealth is not some riddle hidden in secret books or whispered in back rooms of billionaires. It is mercilessly clear. The process is not complicated. It is cruel. Most will never taste it, not because the path is too complex, but because they cannot stomach the brutality that lies beneath. They crave a gentle road. They want riches to arrive like a gift. Light effort, endless complaining, and the fantasy that the universe will eventually reward them. That fantasy is a leash. Niccolò Machiavelli, the quiet architect of power, understood long ago what people still refuse to accept. Money moves toward those who stare at reality without flinching. Strip away the pleasant lies. Forget the syrupy slogans of work hard and wait your turn. The posters that tell you to dream big and you'll succeed. Those words are weapons crafted to keep you obedient, predictable, and asleep. Wealth does not come to those who merely dream. It comes to those who play the game as it truly exists, not as society pretends it to be. Here is the first merciless law. Poverty thrives on predictability. Most people are painfully easy to read. They wake at the same hour, scroll the same feeds, drag themselves to the same job, murmur the same complaints, return home, and anesthetize themselves with screens. The loop feels safe, but safety is a quiet assassin. Comfort softens the edge of ambition and makes you simple to control. Do you think the machine wants you free? It wants you routine. Routines can be taxed. They can be steered. They can be bought. Machiavelli would smirk at this theater. He knew that true power and true wealth belongs only to those who refuse to be hypnotized by hope. Hope that your boss will recognize you. Hope that life will finally be fair. Hope that kindness will attract fortune. None of it is real. The architect of the system profits. The obedient player bleeds. This is why getting rich is brutally simple. It demands no genius. It demands no luck. It demands the courage to break rules that were never written for your victory. The creed of the powerless says, work, save, and pray. The creed of the powerful says, own, control, and multiply. Consider two lives. One works a quiet 9 to 5, scrapes a little from every paycheck, hoping someday the numbers will grow. The other uses those same hours to build a business, acquire skills, and learn the language of sales. 10 years later, the first clings to a fragile pile of savings and an aging body. The second commands assets, cash flow, and independence. Same years, same clock, different destinies. The difference is not fate. It is the rules they chose to follow. Understand the mind that stays poor. It worships the illusion of safety. People fear loss more than they crave triumph. They mistake cages for shelters. They cling to stability, blind to the fact that stability is a mirage. Jobs disappear overnight. Economies shatter. Inflation devours the careful hoard. The so-called safe path is the most dangerous of all. Machiavelli's whisper cuts through time. Fortune favors the bold, not the hesitant. If you desire wealth, invert your questions. Do not ask, what is safe? Ask, what gives me control? Do not tremble at what if I fail. Tremble at what if I never dare. That single reversal is the dividing line between those who remain servants of the system and those who command it. Let's peel back another layer. Why do so many remain chained to scarcity even after they've heard the truth? The answer is mercilessly plain. They mistake motion for movement. They burn themselves out with endless activity, yet never advance an inch. They grind at jobs that cage their growth, chase habits that sedate their drive, and cling to relationships that siphon their focus. Then they stare at the ceiling, wondering why life feels immovable. Wealth itself is a straight blade, clean, direct, simple. Learn how capital flows. Stand where that current runs strongest. Take more than you give until you hold the reins. Guard it, multiply it. That is the entire map. The challenge isn't intellect. It is the patience and the audacity to follow a path that few can stomach. Picture money as a relentless river. Most people linger on the banks, praying for a stray splash to wet their hands. The wealthy carve channels, diverting the torrent into their own fields. Same river, same water. One crowd begs, the other commands. And here, Machiavelli's cold insight strikes. Human beings are driven by only two engines, fear and desire. The rich weaponize both. They make others fear being left behind and crave what only they can provide. That is how empires, brands, and even lone influencers turn craving into cash. They are not selling objects. They are selling hunger. They are not offering logic. They are pulling strings of emotion. Wealth is not a mountain of coins. It is dominion over longing. Whoever can ignite desire for something he controls will never be poor. Whoever becomes the figure others cannot ignore will always hold power. But here lies the crueler truth. Building wealth is only the first war. Keeping it is the second. Rise even a little, and envy follows like a shadow. They will whisper that you were lucky, greedy, corrupt. That is the tax of stepping outside the herd. Machiavelli warned centuries ago, to claim power is to invite enemies. Money obeys the same law. To hold it, you must welcome resistance. So you must ask yourself now, are you ready to trade comfort for control, to face ridicule, doubt, and quiet sabotage, and still press forward? Because if you are, the gates of wealth stand open. They always have. The poor linger in fantasy. The rich operate in reality. Reality cuts like steel, merciless, but elegantly simple. Now examine why the majority remain caged, even when the keys lie in plain sight. It isn't lack of intelligence or absence of opportunity. It is conditioning. From childhood, you were scripted to shrink. Don't challenge. Don't gamble. Stay in line. Go to school. Chase the safe job. Collect the predictable paycheck. This chant is repeated not to empower you, but to domesticate you. The obedient never ascend. Notice how the classroom prepares you. It drills you to sit still, raise your hand, memorize, and regurgitate. That is not an education for sovereignty. That is training for servitude. Machiavelli would curl a knowing smile. Systems are crafted to fatten those already on top. The ruling few have no appetite for rivals. They want you thrilled with a modest salary and a week's vacation, while they own the jets you board, the resorts you covet, the restaurants you celebrate in. So when I tell you that wealth is brutally simple, I mean this. The true labor is not learning fresh tactics. It is tearing out the old programming. You must unlearn the obedience etched into you since childhood. Only then can you abandon the script and write a life the system never intended you to claim. Picture this. A man wakes every morning at 6. He slips into the same shirt, drives the same cracked road, parks at the same gray building. For 40 years, he repeats the ritual. Same chair, same emails, same fluorescent cage, until one day He retires with a tired body and a pension barely worth counting. Did he ever stand a chance at real freedom? No. He bartered decades for crumbs, all because he obeyed the script handed to him at birth. Now, envision another man, identical starting line, same world, but he refuses the lullaby. He questions the path. He dissects how money moves, how companies breathe, how selling creates leverage. He saves, not to hoard, but to seed. He builds something small, a side venture, an online store, a service nobody else noticed. He reinvests, scales, sharpens. A decade passes, and the job that once defined him is irrelevant. He owns the hours that once owned him. Same world, same years, different outcome. The split isn't luck or genius. It is the simple courage to walk off the map. Here is the cruel catch. Most will never step off that map. Why? Because breaking the script feels like walking barefoot across glass. Humans crave the soft warmth of familiarity. Comfort is sweet, safe, and fatal. Machiavelli warned, men forget danger in times of calm, but danger never forgets them. Wealth demands you wade into discomfort, nights where doubt chokes you, mornings when fear sits heavy in your chest, days when uncertainty is the only companion. That is the price, and beyond that, pain waits the only prize worth having. Freedom. Understand this. The rich are not blessed with sharper minds. They simply read the game from a different angle. Money to them is a weapon, not a trophy. Risk is a lever, not a threat. People are not merely companions. They are allies, rivals, or customers. This mental pivot changes everything. Watch how the average earner spends. Paycheck arrives, and it bleeds out. Rent, bills, entertainment. A thin slice set aside to rot in a savings account. The wealthy invert the order. First, they invest into assets, skills, ventures, people who multiply value. Only after feeding the machine do they pay the mundane costs of living. Consider two friends, each earning $3,000 a month. Friend A spends $2,500 on rent, food, and fleeting fun. He tucks away $500 in a bank where inflation gnaws at it. After a year, he has $6,000, smaller in power than the day he saved it. Friend B lives leaner, spending $2,000 and channeling the extra $1,000 into sharpening skills or building a small enterprise. 1 year later, maybe his savings are thin, but his skill set can earn $5, $10, even $20,000 a month. 10 years on, friend A is older, comfortable, and broke. Friend B commands his time, his wealth, his life. The brutal simplicity stands. Where you aim your money and hours today writes the story of your freedom or your chains tomorrow. Here lies the deeper psychology. Most mouths claim they want freedom, but few hands will grasp it. Freedom demands total responsibility, and responsibility terrifies. People long for safety, for a caretaker, boss, government, system. Those who truly chase wealth must accept a harsher doctrine. No excuses, no waiting, no blame, only deliberate action. Machiavelli knew the nature of the crowd. Men are fickle, cowardly, and greedy. They follow the strong and trample the weak. If you seek wealth, you must project strength so unmistakable it becomes a shield. Appear as the one who governs his world, not the one begging for permission. Confidence is a magnet for power. Desperation drives it away. The choice is yours. Radiate command and draw fortune near, or kneel quietly and hope the system spares you. Let's talk strategy, the kind that cuts through illusions. When you're starting with nothing, the first move is never money. It is skill. Skill is a blade, and without it, you are unarmed. Selling, writing, coding, designing, persuading, negotiating. Each is a weapon in the quiet war of wealth. Master one, and you stop begging. Master several, and you become untouchable. Once a skill is sharpened, the next step is leverage. Leverage is force, more output than the effort you feed into it. A job offers almost none. 1 hour for one paycheck, forever chained to the clock. A business, an idea, a single digital creation. These can echo to thousands or millions while you sleep. This is why the powerful chase leverage relentlessly. They do not ask, how can I earn more per hour? They ask, how can I build something that pays me whether I show up or not? One mindset shackles you to time. The other purchases freedom. But leverage demands courage. The nerve to risk failure, to lose face, to be wrong in public, to burn capital, and stand in the smoke. Most cannot stomach that, so they settle for safe poverty. The few who endure the fire walk away free. See the game for what it is. Wealth is not a mystery. It is a different battlefield. It rewards skill over credentials, control over comfort, audacity over fear. The rules have never been hidden. They simply demand a will most people will not summon. Play or remain a servant. Refuse, and you will work, pay, complain, and repeat until the clock runs out. Accept, and you join the rare circle that owns, controls, multiplies. Machiavelli would recognize them instantly. The ones who discard illusion, embrace risk, and seize power. Wealth has never belonged to everyone. It belongs to the few willing to bleed for it. Now, descend deeper. By now, you see that riches do not arise from luck, endless labor, or waiting for permission. They grow from control, from leverage, from breaking the script that keeps the masses docile. But understand this: money is war, not with guns, but with ideas, influence, and attention. And war crushes the hesitant. Machiavelli warned, fortune favors the bold, but only when the bold are prepared. Walk into the wealth arena blind, and you are prey. Enter with strategy, skill, and a taste for conflict, and you devour. The first battlefield tactic is ownership, not employment. Ownership. The poor trade time for money. The rich trade ownership for limitless return. Time is finite. Ownership has no ceiling. You could labor 16 hours a day and remain small, because the calendar limits you. But if you own a product, a brand, an equity stake, the scale is infinite. Jeff Bezos did not amass billions by clocking in. He amassed them by owning Amazon, where millions worked and billions purchased. His wealth multiplied while he slept. You do not need to build another Amazon, but you must own something, your own business, a unique product, a piece of digital property, an asset that works when you do not. This is the brutal divide. Work forever and remain capped, or own and let scale break the limits of time. The choice is simple, and it is ruthless. Desire, fear. They move people faster than reason ever could. Every fortune is built on that truth. If you want wealth, you don't just sell a thing. You sell the feeling people chase in silence, the craving to be admired, the ache to be envied. This is the shadow game. If you can guide those hungers, you don't just earn money, you command it. Tactic 2. Turn desire into your weapon. Most men pretend to think, but they buy with emotion. They long to feel important, seductive, untouchable. The rich don't fight this. They exploit it. They market illusions, not objects. A luxury watch and a department store watch may tick to the same rhythm, but the expensive one whispers status. That whisper is worth hundreds of dollars. Control that whisper, and you control the buyer. Machiavelli warned. Men are driven by two forces, fear and desire. So you feed both, spark the terror of missing out, offer a dream only you can deliver. When people crave what only you possess, the price no longer matters. You have turned their longing into your leverage. Tactic 3. Build machines, not jobs. A job dies the moment you stop moving. A system lives on. Create a structure that earns while you sleep. An automated store, a digital course, a rental property, a channel that pays long after the camera stops. That is wealth architecture. The poor trade tasks for wages. The powerful build once and harvest forever. One well-placed video can out-earn a lifetime of clocking in. One repeatable process becomes a river of income that ignores the calendar. Brutal in its simplicity, unstoppable in its scale. Tactic 4. Protect and multiply. Earning is only the first campaign. Keeping it and expanding it is the war. The undisciplined spend every dollar like a spark in the dark. The cautious middle class hides their money, letting it rust. The elite deploy it like soldiers. Each dollar is a fighter you send to capture more. Real estate, equity, intellectual property. Battlefields where capital returns with reinforcements. The rich are relentless generals. Their money works harder than their hands ever could. Tactic 5. Master the mask. Perception outruns reality. In power and in wealth, appearance is a weapon sharper than truth. If the crowd believes you are formidable, opportunities appear where none existed. Doors unlock for the image, not the man. Influencers flaunting borrowed cars and rented penthouses understand this. They project strength until strength becomes real. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand." If you want influence, learn to wear the armor of success, even before you own it. Here is where most fall. They nod, they dream, then they retreat. They whisper excuses. Too risky, too hard, not for me. In that hesitation, they surrender the game to someone bolder. But if you are still here, something in you refuses to be ordinary. You already sense that a paycheck is a leash. Understand this. Earning wealth is a storm. Keeping it is a siege. Money will change you and expose you. It draws envy, opportunists, smiling predators. Family who forgot you will remember. Partners will taste greed. Machiavelli cautioned princes to learn how not to be good. You must do the same. Guard your fortune with walls of contracts, ironclad agreements, silent legal structures. Never display weakness. Weakness invites attack. The rich survive because they build fortresses of strategy around their gold. If you intend to keep what you win, you must become a ruler in your own right. Cold when necessary, patient always, untouchable to those who would bleed you dry. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. Wealth will try to destroy you the moment you taste it. Money isn't a finish line. It's a trap waiting to snap shut. The second your pockets fill, temptation circles like a wolf. bright cars, loud parties, shiny distractions that drain you back to nothing. That's how the freshly rich die poor. They confuse the scent of power with the perfume of approval. The true elite never make that mistake. The powerful spend for strategy, not applause. They buy assets, not ornaments. They collect freedom, not followers. That's the fracture line between those who stay rich and those who slide back into hunger. Wealth is a weapon. Wield it for control, or watch it turn on you. Why suffer the risk, the discipline, the constant threat of betrayal? For freedom, not gold chains or rented mansions. Those are side effects. True wealth is invisible. No boss to obey. No alarm clock to curse. No permission slips for your own life. You go where you choose. Answer to no one. That is the empire Machiavelli understood. Power and wealth are the same battlefield. The path remains brutally simple. See reality as it is, not as you wish. Reject the common script. Master a skill. Take calculated risks. Acquire and defend assets. Multiply them. Project strength. Never drift back into the soft comfort that keeps most men owned. Most will nod and stay in chains. A rare few will act and rewrite their destiny. Which one are you? We've stripped away illusions, exposed the tactics, shown the weapons. But understanding is worthless without action. You can devour 1,000 books, drown in podcasts, recite every quote, and remain broke. The harshest truth about wealth is that it punishes hesitation. Machiavelli warned, fortune is like a river. It floods and destroys the idle, but yields to those who build channels. Opportunities surge and vanish. Sit still, and you're swept away. Move first, and you harness the flood. 5 brutal steps to action. Step 1. One skill. Total mastery. Pick a single weapon and sharpen it until it cuts through any market, sales, persuasion, writing, coding, trading, public speaking, whatever builds value. A dull blade is useless. Daily sharpening breeds confidence, and confidence draws capital. Step 2. Think like an owner. Workers ask, what's my hourly rate? Owners ask, what can I create that pays me forever? That mental pivot is the true doorway to wealth. Step 3. Build leverage. No one scales alone. Use systems, platforms, and people to multiply your reach. A video, a product, a digital asset. Once built, it earns while you sleep. Money that works when you don't is the only real freedom. Step 4. Embrace the brutality. Riches will test your patience, courage, and soul. Friends will drift. Family may sneer. Strangers will mock. The world resists anyone breaking its chains. Endure anyway. Pain is the toll for independence. Step 5. Guard the fortress. The moment you build wealth, predators appear. Envy will stalk you, leeching friends. Greedy partners, quiet conspiracies. Machiavelli warned rulers to expect betrayal. And the modern battlefield is no different. Contracts, boundaries, relentless vigilance. Build walls around your fortune so it serves your life and outlives you. This is the real game, not comfort, not applause. Power, freedom, control. Most will ignore it and return to their cages. A few will act and claim their sovereignty. The flood is coming. Will you build the dam or be washed away? Wealth dies in weak minds long before the money runs out. If your thinking is fragile, fortune will slide through your fingers like water. Watch what happens again and again. A man climbs from nothing. Pockets fill, ego swells. Instead of planting seeds, he buys glitter. Instead of building engines, he buys toys. He performs wealth instead of preserving it, and the riches vanish. He never grasped the simplest law of power. Wealth is not money. Wealth is control. Control is the real currency. If you own your time, your decisions, your future, you are rich. If a paycheck, no matter how fat, dictates your days, you remain poor. Machiavelli warned rulers to think beyond the moment, to build for the generations that follow. That is true wealth. Capital that feeds your bloodline. Structures that outlive you. A name that carries weight long after the body is gone. Legacy is the final fortress. But here is the brutal divide. Most will hear these words and sink back into the cushions of comfort. They will scroll, complain, and start the same routine tomorrow. Wealth is scarce, not because the formula is complex, but because discipline feels like pain, and most would rather stay numb. So choose your side. Will you drift with the predictable masses until the system consumes you? Or will you be among the few who face the world without illusions, risking, fighting, building, and winning? Picture this: waking with no alarm except your own ambition. Walking into any room, knowing you never again trade hours for survival. Buying what you choose, not from recklessness, but from absolute ability. Traveling when and where you please, because time itself bows to you. Constructing something that nourishes your children and their children long after your voice is gone. That is freedom. That is wealth. And the path remains mercilessly simple. Learn, build, own, defend, multiply, repeat. Machiavelli observed that people are blind, emotional, and easily ruled. Rise above that. Master your own impulses. Conquer fear. Embrace calculated risk. When you control yourself, you control money and the destiny that money buys. The call to action. Do not wait. Do not scroll away. Do not whisper that you'll begin tomorrow. Begin now. Choose a skill. Study the mechanics of money. Take a small but deliberate risk. Lay a single brick. Every empire starts with one stone. Every fortune begins with one decisive step. The world does not reward dreamers. It rewards those who act while others hesitate. Burn this into your mind. Getting rich is not complicated, only brutal. The question is no longer how. The question is, will you endure the brutality required to claim it?